Hi, I'm Jessica Krause with New Life Accounting, and I wanted to thank you for downloading the Accounting Success Checklist. I wanted to take some time to walk through the checklist so that you can maximize the checklist and what is available to you. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can use this checklist. You can use it as a year-end kind of wrap up and see where you're at for the year end. You could use it as um, maybe just get a feel for where you're at in the moment. Okay, where are all the things that you're really good at and you excel in? And then identifying those areas that you really need to focus on and give more attention to. Or maybe you pull some things out and you create your own checklist, whether it's uh, annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, things that you need to be doing, and you just use it to create your own checklist. However you want to use it, this is yours. It's a tool for you to use. So I want to walk through in a little bit more detail each item that's on here and give you some additional information. So we're going to start with the accounting column, specific to the accounting piece, your chart of accounts. So your chart of accounts is what allows your transactions to have a home and for you to be consistent in your reporting. And we want to make sure that that is organized in a manner that you can get the data that you need to make strategic decisions for your business. We also want to look at our prior year-end adjustments. So every time that you submit your financials to a CPA firm for taxes or reviewed financials, there may be some adjustments that CPA makes to your financials, and we want to make sure that you are getting those adjustments from them, you're making them in your books, and that your books match what happened on the tax return or in those reviewed or audited financials. We want to make sure that we're reconciling every balance sheet account and that we have supporting documentation for each account as well. So we're going through each item on the balance sheet and reconciling that. And that should typically be done monthly. So we should be reconciling those every month. Our credit cards should be reconciled. We should have a strong process in place to get those expenses recorded timely. That's one of the biggest areas and pain points that I see with a lot of businesses are their credit cards. So making sure that we have a process for getting those receipts and recording those transactions timely and not having that hold up our month-end close process. Accounts receivable, we want to reconcile the GL account to the aging report. We want to make sure that we have a process for calling on outstanding items and that we're maintaining that consistent communication with our customers. Accounts payable, we want to reconcile the GL account to the aging report as well. And we also want to be reviewing those vendor statements. Make sure that they are reconciling to our aging report. More specifically, in the construction world, we're talking about our suppliers, most likely, and those vendor statements. On the income statement review, we want to review that income statement by month. We want to look and see if there's transactions that aren't being recorded accurately or consistently. We want to review accounts such as repairs and maintenance, equipment, office supplies. See if there's items in there that should actually be capitalized and put on the balance sheet. They should be depreciated. And that goes vice versa. We want to make sure that we're not putting everything on the balance sheet. If it's a $100 transaction, it's probably something that can be expensed. We also want to review our dues and subscriptions, our software, insurance expenses, make sure there's nothing that needs to be prepaid and put on the balance sheet. And when we're talking about those items, that's because we want to see our financials on an accrual basis. You may file your tax return on a cash basis, but we want to see our financial statements on an accrual basis. We're going to head over to that middle column of job costing, direct and indirect cost. So we want to make sure that all of our direct costs are getting assigned to a job. Our indirect costs are not assigned to a job, but they're still related to doing the work and having those projects. And we want to reconcile those job cost reports to our direct job cost. We also want to make sure that we have a system in place for reconciling our software. So if we're using an accounting system as well as a project management system, we want to make sure that those two systems are reconciled on a regular basis to ensure that the billings and costs are syncing correctly. We want to focus on our WIP reporting. We want to make sure that we really understand the WIP report, why it's there, what it's producing for us. We want to make sure that we're getting accurate, forecasted cost to complete numbers in there, that our WIP schedule's tying back to our financial statements, and that we're reviewing that schedule and closing out any projects that are complete at the end of the year. When we're looking at change orders, we want to make sure that all of our open change orders are getting approved and they're getting entered into the accounting system timely. We also want to update the budget on the cost side for any change orders that are coming through on the revenue side. So we want our revenue and our costs to match. We're reviewing those under and over billings. So if you are underbilled, if you have a lot of underbilled contracts, we need to understand why they're being underbilled. We want to make sure that we're getting those billings submitted timely, and not only timely, but that they're complete. So we're issuing all the required documents that are required as part of that billing as well, so that they are paid timely. If we don't submit the right documents with our billings, they're going to get held up. We want to identify cash flow for per project as well. So if you're only monitoring cash as a whole in your company and not looking at it per project, what happens a lot of times is that the cash flow that's doing really good on one project is used to pay for another. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are understanding our cash flow by project. We want to reconcile those committed costs. Make sure that there's no extra entries made, duplicated entries. If we don't have the committed costs correct, or we're not applying those vendor invoices to the committed costs, to the purchase orders or work orders, then it's going to double up those expenses on our jobs. It's going to look like, so if we have $100,000 in committed costs, we got an invoice for $50,000. We entered the invoice, but we didn't apply it to the committed cost. Now it looks like we have $150,000 on the job. So we want to make sure that all of those invoices that are for committed costs are getting applied to committed costs, and we're reconciling them. There's some kind of process in place to make sure that that's happening. We want to have a good system in place for tracking all of our equipment costs. And we want to make sure that we also have a system to allocate any of that unallocated equipment costs back to a project. Especially if you're a contractor that is using a lot of equipment. We don't want that all sitting in indirects. We need to allocate that back to a project. All right, jumping into operations. So ensuring that we have a company-wide systems and process in place that anyone can follow. So you want company-wide, across every aspect of your business, having those systems and processes in place. Communication, ensuring that you have effective communication throughout your organization. This is important in the office, between departments, across departments, the office and field, and with external parties. So if you feel like your communication is lacking, this might be a focus area that you want to have. Reporting, ensure that you're receiving reliable reports, both financial and data-driven, that can help you make timely, consistent, and strategic decisions. Inspect what you expect. Use those KPIs, so key performance indicators. You may be a KPD, focusing on those drivers instead of the indicators, looking at different key metrics in your business that you need to be monitoring. You know, if you have certain expectations in your business, you need to be looking at those things on a regular basis. Goals, have clear and measurable goals that you have shared across the company and that you're committed to achieving, and everyone knows about it. That goes part of that communication piece, communicating those goals and those expectations. for leadership. Be the leader your team needs and the type of leader you expect from other leaders in your organization. Relationships with third parties. So continue strengthening your relationships with your bonding agents, your bankers, loan officers, insurance providers, CPA, marketing team, lawyers. They are all people that should be in your court, rooting for you, being there, available to help you in your business, help you achieve those goals. Use them. And if you don't feel like that's the relationship that you have with them, see if you can improve that relationship, or maybe you have to make a switch. Make a change to someone you do trust, someone that is going to have your back, that's going to be more like a partner, and really focus on those third-party relationships. It's really important in this industry. Income taxes. Use a tax accountant that is experienced in the construction industry. You also want to make sure that you're proactively planning to minimize your tax liability while you also are complying with the tax authority's regulations. So we want to minimize tax liability, but we want to do it the right way. We also want to make sure that we're taking advantage of any tax incentives that are available to us that are specific to the construction industry, which is why it's important to have someone that understands your industry. All right, there's a lot of other things that we could focus on in your business, but these are some of the main ones, some of the big ones that can be a change maker in your business. So use it as you wish. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.